World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, was a global conflict involving major world powers like the United States, the Soviet Union, Germany, Japan, and others. The war was marked by significant events such as the Holocaust, the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the establishment of the United Nations. While the war was primarily a fight against fascism and totalitarian regimes, it also had a profound impact on social movements back home, particularly the civil rights movement in the United States. During the war, African Americans served in large numbers in the military and worked in defense industries, which highlighted the contradictions between fighting for freedom abroad and facing segregation and discrimination at home. This experience galvanized many African Americans to demand equal rights and justice. The WW campaign, which stood for Victory Against Fascism Abroad and Victory Against Racism at Home, gained momentum during this period. Additionally, President Truman's decision to desegregate the armed forces in 1948 was influenced by the contributions and sacrifices of African American soldiers during the war. Thus, World War II played a crucial role in laying the groundwork for the civil rights movement by exposing the deep-rooted racial inequalities in American society and inspiring a generation to fight for the change. During World War II, black soldiers played crucial roles in the military, with one of the most notable groups being the Tuskegee Airmen. These were the first African American military aviators in the United States Armed Forces, and they served with distinction, completing over 1,500 missions and earning more than 150 distinguished flying crosses. Despite their exemplary service, black soldiers faced significant racial discrimination both in the military and at home. In the armed forces, they were often segregated into separate units and given menial tasks, while white soldiers received better treatment and more opportunities for advancement. This segregation extended to military facilities where black soldiers had to use separate dining halls, barracks, and recreational areas. The WW campaign emerged as a powerful movement during this time, advocating for a dual victory, one against the Axis powers abroad and another against racial inequality at home. This campaign, spearheaded by the Pittsburgh Courier, a prominent black newspaper, aimed to highlight the hypocrisy of fighting for democracy overseas while African Americans were denied basic rights in the United States. The campaign galvanized the black community, encouraging them to contribute to the war effort while simultaneously demanding equal treatment and justice. It became a rallying cry for many African Americans who saw the war as an opportunity to challenge and dismantle the systemic racism that had long oppressed them. Despite their contributions to the war effort, black soldiers returned home to a society still deeply entrenched in racial discrimination. They faced segregation in housing, education, and employment, and were often subjected to violence and intimidation. The GI Bill, which provided benefits to returning veterans, was largely inaccessible to black veterans due to discriminatory practices. However, the experiences of black soldiers during World War II and the momentum of the WW campaign laid the groundwork for the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. The war highlighted the glaring contradiction between American ideals and reality, inspiring a generation to fight for the equality and justice that had long been denied to them. As black veterans returned home from World War II, they brought with them a renewed determination to fight for inequality and justice. Having risked their lives for a country that continued to deny them basic rights, these veterans became vocal advocates for change. They demanded equal access to housing, education, and employment opportunities, as well as an end to the pervasive racial discrimination that plagued American society. Organizations like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the newly formed Congress of Racial Inequality played pivotal roles in amplifying these demands, organizing protests, and challenging discriminatory practices through legal action. One of the significant early efforts to address racial discrimination in the military came with President Harry S. Truman's Executive Order 9981, issued in 1948. This landmark order declared an end to segregation in the armed forces and mandated equal treatment and opportunity for all service members, regardless of race. While the implementation of this order was gradual and met with resistance, it marked a crucial step towards desegregation and set a precedent for the future civil rights advancements. The integration of the military not only provided new opportunities for black service members, but also demonstrated the potential for broader societal change. Key figures and organizations emerged during this period, laying the groundwork for the civil rights movement. Leaders like A. Philip Randolph, that had previously organized the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, played a crucial role in advocating for the rights of black workers and veterans. His efforts, along with those of other prominent figures such as Thurgood Marshall and Martin Luther King, helped galvanize the movement. Organizations like the NAACP, CORE, and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference became instrumental in coordinating protests, legal challenges, and voter registration drives. These leaders and organizations not only addressed immediate demands of returning black veterans, but also worked towards dismantling the systemic racism that had long oppressed African Americans, ultimately paving the way for the landmark civil rights victories of the 1960s. Modern civil rights issues encompass a wide range of challenges and injustices that continue to affect marginalized communities. One of the most prominent issues is police brutality and the systemic racism within law enforcement. The Black Lives Matter movement was brought significant attention to the disproportionate violence and discrimination faced by black individuals at the hands of police. High-profile cases such as those of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor have sparked nationwide protests and calls for comprehensive police reform and accountability. Another major area of concern is voter suppression. Despite the progress made since the civil rights movement, many states have implemented laws and policies that disproportionately affect minority voters. These include strict voter ID laws, purging of voter rolls, and limited access to polling places. Activists and organizations are working tirelessly to protect voting rights and ensure fair and equal access to the ballot for all citizens. Economic inequality and access to quality education also remain critical civil rights issues. Many communities of color face significant disparities in income, employment opportunities, and educational resources. Efforts to address these issues include advocating for a living wage, affordable housing, and equitable funding for schools. The fight for civil rights today is a continuation of the struggles faced by previous generations, aiming to create a more just and equal society for all.